Good evening and welcome to our third edition of our Caged Full Throttle podcast. With me tonight is Matt Josie. Good evening, Matt.
Hello, back again. You're back, finally.
Yes, I am back in the hot seat here. Andy Watts with us tonight is also Jordan Hollands. Good evening, Jordan.
Good evening, Matt. Good evening, Andy. Hello, how are we both?
It's alright, it's good to have you back. Obviously, as our panellist, back to talk a bit more in the world of banger racing.
And certainly to give us an insight of what's going on up the northern part of the country. So that will keep us informed up that part of the world. But we start just before we get on to our reports on obviously the topic that I set up just after the podcast last week, which was, of course, the what car would you like to see in the future as a banger? And thank you to those who got involved in that. But if you want to get involved and comment on that, a car has to be produced and released after 2010. So thank you to those who added to that topic that we put on last week. And if you want to add to that, you can comment via the topic on the Cage Facebook page or through the comments on the podcast. But we start with our reports of the Mildenhall National Banger Micro meeting on Saturday evening, where it was around 40 cars that turned up, and certainly not a bad night's action as well. Certainly not too many cars in the variety range, a lot of Fiestas and K11 Micros and a few KAs as well, but certainly a good night for those who went home with a race win. The best driver that night went to Heat 1 winner and winner of the final, which was Luke Wild of Cholderhouse in 6.74. He took the first heat and the final. Constellation was won by 5.45, which was Cole Huffy, and Constellation was won by 2.56, Matt Tillo. So the Destruction Derby, the best race out of the night for the National Microbangers at Mildenhall. That went away in the end to 4.79 of Jason Wood, and the runner-up was Tom Fox in 3.22. So not a bad night's action for the Microbangers at Mildenhall. And also it was the same affair with Aldershot on the Sunday, where again it was National Banger Micros, which saw in the region of just over 30 cars, and not as many as previous events for the Microbangers, but certainly an excellent afternoon of racing, and certainly some good action with the first heat, and Boxer Jack being well and truly put up against the wall on the exit of the Aldershot Bend, where he broke the steering going into the Aldershot Bend, and then Lethal Lee Hopkins then saw him just against the wall and then went straight through the passenger rear wheel, which well and truly shortened the car. But in a true Boxer style, we pulled that all back out, and he was back out in the second heat. And certainly a lot of great action throughout the course of the afternoon, with Boxer Jack well and truly in the thick of it, and the Midnight Runners actually having a rough ride that afternoon, where the local boys well and truly picked on them, with the Destruction Derby being a very entertaining end to racing as well. So the wins that afternoon in the Microbangers, Sam Beasley took both the heats, with 2.08 taking the final. PJ Collins in the end, the DD went away to Louis Hart in 2.10, and Andy Jones, the runner-up, in 3.41. So certainly some good micro action throughout the weekend. And I'm going to hand you over to Matt now to talk about the Big Van Bangers at Standlake.
Yeah, Standlake hosted its annual Big Van Banger meeting on Bank Holiday Monday, and there was around 19 Big Vans in total. And even though it wasn't an impressive turnout, it was more than what I expected in this day and age of certain big van meetings across the country. There was a few decent vans, I'd say on the show. There was a pair of Mark III Transit camper vans for 372 Tom Potts, and for number 37, not too sure on his name, but very impressive vans from them. But the van that toppled all the vans that were there was the Mark III Transit Ambulance of 772 Cow. So that was by far the best van there. Didn't quite fall apart in the end, but the meeting itself was okay. The first heat was a little bit tame, if I'm honest, but from heat 2 it picked up, and that was because 600 in the used big Iveco stuck it in reverse on turns 1 and 2 and used it as a proper tool. Everyone was piling into the side of that van, and even despite the carnage it was causing, it still ran after Heat 2 and the final, and obviously it went through into the Destruction Derby as well. So yeah, quite a lot going on. There was also the Street Bangers on show as well. 53 of them, which was a very good turnout as per usual there at Standlake in the last 2 or 3 years. I'd say an average day of wrecking there in the Street Bangers, but not a bad meeting nonetheless. But overall, the big vans, I'd say, were pretty entertaining. Not at their best ever, but I wouldn't say too bad either. Also, to mention, 760 Joey, who is now the Van Banger World Champion, returned his Ford Connect small van from the Ringwood World Final, Van World Final, a few months ago. Didn't quite go too well for him. He had a few good laps and done quite well. However, he didn't quite win the races in the end. But overall, like I say, it was a decent meeting. And the DD winner did go to that big Iveco of 600 Minky. So he put on a great show. Overall, like I say, it was a good meeting. But yeah. And moving on, there was another 2 big van banger meetings on Bank Holiday Monday. Obviously, I didn't go myself to either of these because I was at Standlake. But Kings Lynn Crash for Cancer was in its 2nd year now, where yet again, I believe at least another 60 big vans turned up, which again was very impressive. Some amazing top vans on show yet again, including a 6-wheeled bus for 100 Cock. It's not the first time we've seen a 6-wheeled bus like that. There was one raced by 14 Babyface back at Mildenhall Unlimited Vans back in 2007. There was that huge surprise, wasn't there, Andy? That LDV limo of Shippy. Did you see that?
That was absolutely incredible. That went up, I think, just the day before the meeting, or a couple of days before, and certainly the amount of work they put into that, that must have been at least 3 normal vans put together there, wouldn't you say, Matt?
Yeah, it must have been. It was... When they say surprise, they weren't joking. I mean, it wasn't the sort of surprise I was expecting. I was expecting a driver like Simon Reed, or maybe some stupidly old van from the 30s or 40s, but instead we got, I would say, it was a surprise, as I put in brackets there. Just, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I thought I was going dizzy when I first saw it. It was pretty unique, and it's not the first time we've seen a sort of a van limo variant custom made at a meet, and we saw that Ford Connect, didn't we, at Smallfield earlier in the year?
Yes, we did. I believe Chippy brought that one out in the end.
Yeah, it did, So, yeah, 2 stretch vans this year. So, been a pretty weird year for them. There were some other cool vans there. There was a Dodge 50 horse box for one of the Gypsy crew. A Dodge 50 for Cockle from the squad, who had cage on his van, so thank you for that. Sadly, Brett Gedney couldn't make it in his Iveco ambulance. That is now destined for Yarmouth, I believe, either Boxing Day or way before that. I'm not too sure. Obviously, any of you can correct me if I'm wrong there. I'm not too sure. Do any of you know about that? When that is? Yarmouth Big
I believe that is just after Boxing Day, I believe, after on the 27th.
Yeah, it didn't quite make it in the end, sadly. Then obviously the last big van meeting of Bank Holiday Monday was Arena, where around 8 vans turned up. No coaches, it is worth mentioning this year. Mostly a van-dominated field, apart from a people carrier. But the top vans were an LDV ambulance and a Merc bus. Did any of you guys see the footage of that? It looked pretty alright, I suppose, for 8 vans.
Yeah, it looked alright. I mean, to be honest, it is a pretty poor turnout. But I guess with Kings Lynn having 60 plus vans, and then obviously Standlake having just under 20, there aren't that many vans out there, are they, to race? Yeah, one thing I was thinking though, like, if you were PRI, either of you, would you be looking at changing the date next year for it? If Kingston do keep the date?
Yep, certainly, I would. Maybe the end of May, end of May bank holiday, because that was where I think Arena used to host van meetings anyway, and I don't think there's any other van meetings that day anyway. Dover did it one year, but no.
The only thing that I can sort of think it clashing with is maybe Arlington Vans.
Oh no, that's the start of May. That's the
is it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're all right on the one at Arlington.
Right. Yeah, so maybe the end of May, the Bank Holiday Monday there could be the perfect fitting for it. But certainly the end of August is a bit of a a bad time for it. Obviously, clashing with Kings Lynn and Standlake. I mean, I don't think it used to affect these meeting each other badly so many years ago, but now obviously vans are getting harder and harder to find and that kind of thing. Obviously, maybe it is time for a change there.
Yeah, no.
But I think what helped as well on Kings Lynn behalf, but it was actually a crash for charity. It was obviously a crash for cancer, so it was an actual fundraising event as well, which obviously more drivers took to that than the arena one.
Yeah. And bear in mind, obviously, Kings Lynn has 2 van meetings a year now.
But unfortunate there for arena, because obviously in the past, as you say, has always had good turnouts and a lot of big, cool vans. And in a way, I think it was a good thing that they actually banned the coaches this year, even though it did actually reduce the numbers of vans that raced. But
yeah, certainly a proper van meeting this year.
But I would recommend, like we say, it may well be worth arena looking into changing the date of that towards the end of May.
Yeah, certainly. So certainly I agree with that one.
And any more reports from the weekend, gentlemen?
We did have Arlington back to basics. They had Wacky Races Day on Monday, I believe it was. And that looked like a really good meeting, actually. We had a really good mix of cars there. Some really cool small vans as well, and a really big crowd. So that looked like a really good meeting. It's good to see a lot of the crowd actually enjoying the Vamp rollover as well, and I'm really getting into it. So
some fantastic rolls now as well. I saw some of the rollovers on YouTube, mostly KAs, and there was 2 or 3 really impressive rolls.
Yeah, there was. That looked like a really good meeting, and obviously Lauren and 713 reversing out.
Oh yes, sticking in reverse, showing off.
That was very entertaining. So that looks a good meeting.
Of course, and there was also was it a Maestro van from Weevil as well, which was pretty handy.
Yes. Yeah, it was. Yes.
And not only that, it was an actual diesel van as well, I believe he told me, so it wasn't very quick at all.
That's not surprising. But was it mostly a people carrier dominated field?
I think there was fair few people carriers there, more than usual, I would say. I mean, but obviously it still had the mix of the normal cars as well. Yeah,
I think that's because there was a bit of an advertising blunder, wasn't there, on the poster? There was, it's not his fault, but there was it didn't state Wacky Races anywhere, so that was a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, I think the aim was that they were hoping to do the meeting of small vans and people carriers, and obviously a lot of them obviously couldn't find either one of those, and in the end they opened it up to anything available.
Yeah, which makes sense. At least you had some of the Wacky Races out there anyway, so that was all good to see. So we move on to the news now?
We will indeed, and obviously the biggest news to come from after the bank holiday weekend was the sad news that 206 Kingy Dave King was sadly taken from us early Tuesday morning, and obviously straight away social media was obviously sending thoughts and regards from so many drivers from present and past, and obviously spectators from various racetracks. Obviously he was well known throughout the Banger community. And obviously, a lot of pictures and video footage went up as well. And all of us here at Cage, I'm sure, will send our condolences and thoughts to the whole of the King family.
Yeah, we certainly do. It's very sad news, obviously, across the whole of the country. And all I'll say is the King lives on in our memory.
He does indeed. I mean, it's hard to believe that he was at obviously the Bears meeting, and I was obviously watching the DVD last night of the actual Banger Wells series for Mildenhall back on the 5th of August, which he was racing at as well. It's just hard to believe that almost 3 weeks on, he's sadly been taken from us.
Yeah, way too soon. But yeah, we send our condolences to the King family.
Definitely. And also, go on, Matt.
Go on. What was you going to say?
I was just going to move on to obviously the Stanwood meeting next year. Obviously, looks quite high expectations.
Yes, very, very, very high. Obviously, over the past few years, the Stanwood's meeting at Stoke for Classic National Bangers has proved very popular with some top drivers, some top cars, and a very impressive turnout each year. But would you believe they're trying to break their own record at trying to hit around 230, yes, that's right, 230 classic bangers next year. it might be a bit too ambitious, but do we think it's possible? I certainly think it is.
No, I honestly would have to say no to that because there's too many classic car meetings these days. I mean, I know for a fact. Well, there's so many classic car meetings. I mean, there's Mildenhall. I no doubt next year will be the Classic 100 Arlington, which some have already said. Now, obviously, it's early stages, so hopefully no one holds us to that. They are trying to maybe look that to be the Kingley Memorial meeting for next year, but obviously that's only early speculations on that. So, again, I think it would be quite a hard push to get to 130 cars.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, even 150 or 200 would be great. I certainly think it is a bit too ambitious. Is it impossible? I wouldn't say it's impossible. I'd say it's very unlikely.
It's unlikely, but I actually do think it is doable, to be honest. I mean, we've seen in recent years the meetings just become more and more popular with drivers and spectators. I mean, this year we had the Warriors even make an appearance. So I do think if they continue to get interest in all that, I mean, obviously we've got some of the Irish and Dutch booked in already for it next year. So, yeah, it could be good. Could be good looking to get around 230 cars there. Maybe just under.
Currently over 60 booked in, it's worth to mention. So they've already started the booking list off, even though it's not going to be that accurate at this stage. But over 60 already booked in, so they've kicked it off. Do we know what sort of year they're going by next year? Whether it's pre-75 or pre-70?
No, I don't know actually. To be honest,
No.
Yeah, because I think it's normally pre-75, isn't it? So I think it depends on the year as well, what they do with the limits.
I think they're allowing pre-65 Yanks in next year as well, so you might find a few more Yanks there next year as well.
Yeah, you might do, indeed.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, it could be. But moving on is obviously the last, on my list anyway, on this notepad, is the Jason Burt Farewell meeting this weekend at Ringwood on Saturday. For all Volvo and Granada bangers. It's just been announced only a few days ago, to my knowledge, that the heats will be nudge and spin. Now, this has caused a bit of mayhem on Oval Chat, and I feel for this meeting in particular, there's no right or wrong, purely because it is at the driver's wish. So I don't know what you guys think of that, but obviously people have a preference as a spectator whether you have nudge and spin heats or full contact from the get-go. But if it's driver's wishes, then is it the right thing, do you think? Or,
it is, as you say, it's quite a tough one, that one. But, I mean, because obviously they did the Granada meeting this year. They obviously did an excellent one the year before. And it was obviously full-on contact. There were some big hits. So I reckon it might be one that they might regret in the end. Or maybe that's just my opinion.
I actually think it's quite a good decision, to be honest. I mean, obviously, Matt, you know that I said last week that maybe the Kings Lynn meeting should have started off nudge and spin at the start. So I think if they do that, it will allow drivers to maybe get a few laps out of their Granada or Volvo or whatever they're taking to the meeting, and then have a crash later on. I mean, obviously we know that the Granadas are becoming more and more expensive and harder to find, so drivers won't want to go out and wreck them straight away. And I mean, Volvos are becoming a little bit more rare now as well. I think someone said on Oval Banger Chat earlier that they're maybe about £500 now to buy. So they're not really a cheap banger anymore, really. So I think it's the right decision.
In my opinion, as a spectator, obviously I'd prefer full contact from the start.
Yeah, but that's how I was looking at it.
But because it's at the driver's wishes, I feel that maybe, we should just accept that. And the thing is, it will be full contact after the heats anyway. So if we have more cars for, say, your consolations in the final, you should get plenty of, hopefully, track blockages and wrecking trains, that kind of thing anyway.
Yeah. I mean, another thing to take into consideration here as well is even if it is full contact heats right from the start, doesn't necessarily mean it is going to be full contact, because
it isn't.
You will get some drivers who do just want to have a race round and they won't want to go into the jacking trains and the wrecking trains straight away. So, I think if you know before the meeting it's going to be nudge and spin from the start, you can make that decision whether to go or not.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Yeah, it's a tough one, but because it's the driver's wishes, obviously. Sorry, I've got to move my cat down. He's getting in my microphone. Bit awkward at this time of the podcast. It's also worth mentioning as well. They are hoping to get as many red bumpers as possible painted in obviously memory of 206 Kingy. So that would be a nice little thing there for him as well. So we move on to the big discussion. Before we carry on, have we got any other news we want to share?
No, I don't think so.
No.
No, should we move on then to the big discussion?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And the big discussion was obviously the topic that I put out there last week, which was what future banger would you like to see on the racetrack? What car would you like to see in the future as a banger? And I think the best one was the Toyota Prius.
Yeah, I totally agree. That quote from Michael Wright was fantastic. Prius bangers means less. I can't say that word properly, which is a good thing. No tank or steam tank to mess about with, and no noise, so it won't mean stadiums shutting due to morons that buy a house and next door and complain. So
24-hour meetings from next year, then, yeah? Or in a few years' time,
no
just
curfews,
go for it.
No curfews, no tracks closing. It's perfect, really, isn't it?
Yeah, sounds good, actually. Yeah. And there's plenty of them about as well.
Yeah, so get less of that crap off our road.
Well, yeah, I mean, drive around London, every car is pretty much a Prius now. It's a cabbie, so yeah, I'll be glad to see the back of him.
And of course, there's a few other little suggestions that I've made as well. The K12 Micro, is that a possibility for micro bangers, you think? Obviously following on from the K11 Bubble Micro.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think they'll be good, hard little cars, and they're really quick as well. So yeah, I think they'll be quite a popular choice.
Yeah, we've not seen many of them. We've not seen many of the K12 Micros on banger tracks, really, I don't think. No. So maybe one day we might see them, unless we get a different car as a popular choice for the micro bangers. I mean, who knows, really?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I mean, I was going to say, I think there has been one or two raced at some racetracks of the K12 type, so who knows? Could be the one to be in the future. But another one that got put on the list was I think it's Dacia Sandero. Has anyone had a look at one of those?
Dacia Sandero, yeah, James May's favourite car. Anyone
yes.
Top Gear.
Captain Slow himself.
We might even see him on the track one day then if the Dacia Sandero took to the track.
Yes, definitely. Anything's possible with the old Top Gear crew, yes.
What about suggestions for unlimited bangers? Anything for unlimiteds? Any ideas? I think that's a tough one to decide on, really.
That is a tough one. Sorry, Andy, were you going to go?
I was just going to say, Michael Wright actually put up the Chrysler 300C for unlimiteds, and looking at the picture he put up, I reckon that'd be a very cool car.
Yeah, I want to have a look, actually, quickly. But yeah, that's quite a big car, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a big car. And yeah, that'd be some good cars, actually, for unlimiteds. Two that have popped into my mind are BMW M5s. Obviously, some of the more later models. I think they'll be quite good. And as well, Audi A5s. I think they'll be quite good unlimited bangers, right size, quite hard. So yeah, I think they'll be good for unlimited.
Did you like my suggestion for that electric van banger? The Royal Mail one that was recently revealed for big vans. No, that's my favourite.
I reckon that Spike would have been quite happy driving one of those around. I could see him with him all in the social.
It's weird because it's a big van, but it's sort of like a coach/library van thing. It's quite a weird shape. So it's the perfect van banger, apart from the fact it's electric. Apart from that, it's a very nice shape, which I would like to see in van banger racing. So it's quite unfortunate it's electric. Another one is the Hyundai i10? Is it the one that was raced at Wimbledon a few years ago and featured in the YouTube video?
Yes, one was raced at Wimbledon a few years ago. I think a film crew or television crew actually built the car and raced it. Yeah. Yeah,
they. I think it might have been Cecil that helped build that, but yeah, that was didn't do very well, did it? On that one.
No, I think it's done a few laps at a post and it broke.
Sam Cash said Nissan Juke, such a cool looking car. Not really. I wouldn't. I'd totally disagree there. I don't think so. But the Chrysler 300C, my God, that looks like a cool banger. It really does. I'm not too keen on these modern cars, but I'd certainly go for that.
Another one might be worth looking at is the Rolls-Royce Ghost series, especially one of the later ones that come out, the Series 2. Have you seen one of those?
I've not seen
quite
one yet.
impressive, I reckon.
No, I've not seen one of them yet. There's also a Mark IV Astra that Ross Sharman shared on our Facebook. Shep raced one at, I think it's Standlake or somewhere, I can't tell by the background. So that's another suggestion as well. Any comments? Let's have a look. Any comments and suggestions? Nope, nothing yet. Which is a tad unfortunate, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So yeah, any other suggestions, or are we going to close it there for this topic?
I think we could go on for a long time if we carried on talking about cars, so I think we'll call it at that.
Yeah, we'll call it there. I haven't got any other discussions. Anything else you want to bring up? Any big talking points in Banger Race we want to debate?
I've just thought of something, Matt. Going on from our discussion last week about tracks we'd have, if you was to bring 2 tracks back that have now closed down, what would they be and why?
What they being
One
why?
alongside the 2.
I would say, first of all, Mildenhall. I think you've got to choose a Saturday and Sunday venue. Mildenhall because it's shale. It has a big driver fan base. You got decent vans, unlimited, pre-70, that kind of thing. You got an amazing fish and chip shop, as everyone knows. To me, it's always first in my head is Mildenhall Stadium for them reasons. Obviously, of the recent upgrades and improvements, it's a no-brainer, really. Then the second one I'd choose, not to be too greedy, would probably be between Aldershot or Standlake. Standlake because it's a family fun track, and when you get a decent field of bangers around it, or vans, the action can be very good. And then Aldershot because it plays host to the home of Back to Basics, I feel. And it's a nice little venue. It's not too big, it's not a showy off track really, Aldershot, and I quite like it. So yeah, it'd be one of those two, but probably Aldershot or Dover, because it's a nice little. It's a weird track. You can watch it from the pits, you can watch it from your car, you can watch it on the bend. It's a very underrated track, I feel, Dover. You've got the very narrow bends and straights as well. So yeah,
it's a lot of carnage there. I was thinking more of tracks that we could maybe bring back, not worrying about any of the buildings or the people, whatever. Maybe bring back Crayford and maybe run that again. I think that would be pretty cool, Another track in the capital, bring back stock car racing to the capital, that would be good.
I've not quite seen footage of that, but obviously Wimbledon, the recently deceased Wimbledon Stadium, that would be on your wish list any day of the week. And the other ones that closed. Obviously, before we had Aldershot, we had Fleet Motor Club. I'd love to bring that back as a separate venue to the current Aldershot, because that was brilliant.
Yeah.
You had, obviously, Aldermaston, the dirt track, not the one that recently closed, but the original Aldermaston. Any other tracks, big tracks that have closed? Barrow was a big one, quite well, not huge, I don't think, but it was a quite well respected track. Any other ones? I think
not so much big tracks, but 2 that obviously were near me, and obviously there's not so many left down in the south. One of them, if you remember, it was Lamb's Farm in New Addington.
Oh yes, heard about that.
Yes, I went there once. That was a great little track. Proper grassroots racing. That was That'd be good.
Isn't that the track where there was plenty of fighting going on? It wasn't. It wasn't quite well known for its friendly atmosphere.
Yeah, it was more like a boxing ring sometimes than it was actually watching racing. But when the racing actually happened, it was excellent. I mean, I went there a lot as a young teenager and really enjoyed it. Another one for me as well, I don't know if you two have visited it, was a track near Horsham called Rusper.
I've heard of that.
Anyone remember that?
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen any footage from that, but yeah.
Again, it was another one of those that you turned up in a pretty simple, easily built car. Again, it did have a reputation of turning into a boxing ring more than a racetrack, but I'm not saying I approve of fighting at racetracks, and bringing them two up probably hasn't helped my cause. But no, I'd like to see at least them two if they came back and obviously had a cleaner atmosphere. So there'd be 2 on my list.
What about the old Swaffham? Bring the old Swaffham with the post and rope.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's got to be on anyone's list, that has. I mean, Oh my god, that was again.
Yeah.
I was too young to sort of go to that, but see the footage from Impact videos in the old days was simply epic.
Yeah, was good for following into that track.
Yeah, there's another track.
Definitely.
There's another track on my mind as well, but I can't think what it is. Oh no! So you put me on the spot here with this topic last minute. I can't think.
Yeah,
properly.
sorry, I should have mentioned it earlier, shouldn't I?
You did, didn't you? You actually did mention it to me the other day, and I forgot to add it on my
did I?
list.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly for me, Mildenhall and Aldershot. But if we went back to bringing back the dead tracks, I'd say maybe Mildenhall and Swaffham and Wimbledon. That's my three tracks. What about you, Jordan? Then, have you got a big list in your head, or?
To be fair, I've only gone for two. I've just gone for Wimbledon and Crayford, to be honest. Partly because Crayford, we've still got the stadium there, right next to the Sainsbury's. It's actually a dog track now, but I was thinking maybe if the dog track let you, maybe build a stock car track within that. Because I think it's important nowadays to sort of build relationships with sharing stadiums with the Greyhounds and the Speedway as well. Because with threats of more and more stadiums closing down nowadays, I think if you've got something else there, you've got more people going to there and the track's making more money as well.
Yeah, certainly. There you go. Here's another discussion. This is all out of this wasn't planned, by the way. How do you feel about figure of eight banger racing? Do you think it's too dangerous, and do you agree with the decline of it, or do you reckon we should bring back more figure of eight banger racing across the country?
No, I reckon we should bring back figure of eight racing. I mean, I always thought that the modern cars were more strength in them, especially around the centre pillars, like the B pillars. But I can't understand why people won't favour figure of eight racing when cars the more modern are stronger.
And I think another thing to consider is not national bangers, but keep it to back to basics. Because the back to basics, obviously people aren't going down there like 100 mile an hour over the 8 and taking each other out. They're sort of stopping. Yeah. We don't like, as a spectator, we like to see them crash on the middle, but they're sort of Aldershot was a good example, wasn't it, Andy? It was quite entertaining, but not too heavy, I'd say.
No, I mean, there was some crashes in the centre area. Obviously, a lot of it was oohs and ahs of when they missed. And even if you look back on the old figure of eights that used to be the World Finals at Wimbledon, I mean, a lot of the time, the greatest thrill of it was actually the near misses more than when they finally hit each other.
Yeah,
if I'm right in saying.
I mean, there's plenty of tracks that don't really have a figure of eight crossover, but don't have a figure of eight meeting as such. I don't know if Kings Lynn still does a figure of eight meeting. I might be wrong there. But they got
I don't think it does actually. No. They used to. I think they run them with the 1500cc national bangers, didn't they?
Yeah,
or something like that. But yeah, they used to be quite good. From the videos I've seen.
Is, in a dream world of mine, I reckon we should get every banger track, redo them, do a figure of eight crossover on every single one of them, and do one back to basic figure of eight a year. And for the people that don't like the dashboard idea in back to basics, take away a dashboard but keep it, back to basics.
Back to basic build, yeah.
That's what you should do. Just redo every track. Standlake, take the centre, redo the centre, do a figure of eight at Standlake. That'd be brilliant. Be my dream. Figure of eight at Mildenhall. Oh, imagine that.
We'll need to win the lottery first, I think, before we do any of that.
Yeah, I know. It'd be quite a lot of money involved if I win the Euro Millions, and obviously that'd be a strong investment of mine to change all the tracks in the country to include a figure of eight at least once a year.
Yeah,
agreed, totally.
Agreed. Yeah.
Maybe even a big van figure of eight. Bring it back to the old Boxing Day meetings at Wimbledon. Bring that back.
Oh yeah, the old Aldershot days of figure of eight van bangers. Yeah, definitely.
I've got the DVD of that still as well.
Yeah, so have I in my collection, and I've enjoyed watching that on 2 occasions.
Oh.
So yeah, definitely agree to van figure of eight.
We're coming in then to the fixtures. Any more discussions? Anything off the back of your head? Anything we want to debate?
No. I think that's it.
No,
I can't think of anything. No.
Should we? It's been quite a short one this week, actually. Obviously, we'll do this again in 2 weeks anyway. Should we close things off with the fixtures?
Yep.
Yeah, can do. Yeah.
So maybe if I kickstart with the Saturday, then I don't know if any of you want to go with the rest of it. But obviously, Saturday, the only meeting I've got on the list is Ringwood's Jason Burt Farewell meeting for all Volvo and Granada bangers. Somewhere between 80 to 100 booked in, not too sure. But as we've already mentioned, should be a good meeting, and hopefully we'll see how that goes. Do you want to carry on with the rest, Andy?
Yeah. Certainly, you mentioned the King's Lynn. Obviously, the Unlimited World of Shale is on Saturday night.
Oh no, it's not. No, it's not.
No, it's not. No.
We got that wrong. We got that wrong. Yeah.
That is now on the 17th of September on the
Right.
Sunday, I think it is. I think it's because the F1s are there this Saturday, promoted by Coventry Stocks.
Yes.
Yeah, the F1s are at King's Lynn this Saturday. So if you're around them and fancy going to watch some F1s, go to King's Lynn. But don't go expecting any unlimited bangers.
Sunday, obviously, at the Aldershot Raceway is the Back to Basic Bangers Championship of the Universe, which at the moment sits with 35 cars. I would say that there's definitely going to be people turning up on the day that certainly seem to do that down at Aldershot, especially a lot of the local drivers. So I'll be very surprised if it doesn't hit 50 cars that day.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm a bit surprised not as many are booked in at this stage, seeing as it is a bit of a Mickey Mouse Championship meeting. But as you say, hopefully we get a few. Hopefully we get a few that aren't booked in show up on the day. So maybe 50 cars.
Yeah, be good to put 50 cars.
Of course. Who are we rooting for? I'm rooting for Lauren Annette's. That's the underdog to take the win. No pressure there.
I don't know. I think Joey Reynolds has gone well this year. Obviously, he's won a lot at Standlake, and obviously, as you said earlier, Van Banger world champion. So I think he'd be one to shout for.
Of course, the defending champion, I believe, is who won it last year? Aaron Morris, 591. He's defending it this year. He won it last year. If I'm wrong here, I'm not too sure. He won it randomly last year. It wasn't actually a championship of the universe meeting. It was just a standard back to basic meeting with a sudden trophy involved, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure that was the case last year. But
yes, it was. Did you actually see the trophy in the end?
Yeah, I did, with all the planets on it.
Excellent.
Which is pretty cool. But obviously other names to look out for: Mark Holdsworth, Jimmy Craig, as you say, Joe Reynolds, Lauren Thompson. But yeah, I'd say if we're looking at favourites to win it, it's probably going to be Joe Reynolds or someone like that. But Jimmy Craig obviously has a few good meetings as well in the old Speed Off Domestic Banger days. So he's a potential winner as well. So it's not a too bad list there.
And the next, obviously, the big event down at Auto Speed down in the West Country is the National Banger World Final at Taunton.
Yeah, another world final meeting already. It's a weekend of championships, really, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not quite the big meeting it used to be, but I mean, I'm hoping you get a fair turnout and a bit of action there. It's not. I feel like you've got too many world finals these days, but as long as it's decent, then it's decent. So should be all right.
And then obviously Stansted has their 2 litre World Dirt as well.
Another world final, World of Dirt. It's a never-ending World Championship weekend. And I don't know if you want me to close on this, Andy, but obviously Wednesday the 6th at Arlington is the Domestic Banger Track Championship final round, also featuring the back to bonfire bangers, back to basic bangers.
I wouldn't mind seeing them. That'd be good. Around Guy Fawkes night, just get back to basic bonfire bangers going.
Yeah, no, that's what's been suggested on Facebook. Now people are sent on Facebook and Oval chat. It's in my head now. Back to bonfire bangers. No, it's back to basic bangers, 800cc. So that finishes off the caged list for this weekend's fixtures. But yeah, the track championship final at Eastbourne this Wednesday. They've not quite had this many domestic bangers this year, but again, that's a debate for maybe another time. So yeah, that closes the fixtures. Yeah, and I think, unless there's anything else anyone wants to add to tonight's podcast? Not really, I want to go to bed. But yeah, it's been good. One thing we was going to say, our next topic on our podcast in a couple of weeks was getting everybody to maybe share their memories of Kingy Dave King. Would you agree that would be an idea for our next podcast? Yeah, hopefully it'd be a nice little thing for him. So yeah, I certainly would agree with that. Yeah, I certainly agree. Get your ideas in and we'll read them out and have a little discussion about Kingy as a nice little tribute to him. Yeah, and hopefully definitely. And maybe we could do another topic alongside that to make the podcast run a lot longer than this week. So maybe we'll have 2 topics next for the next one in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the end of it then.
Okay then, and that concludes our 3rd edition of our Cage podcast, Full Throttle. Thank you very much for listening. Good night for myself, Andy Watts. Good night to you, Matt.
Good night.
And good night to Jordan.
Good night, Matt. Good night, Andy. Thanks for having me on again.
That's all right.
And see you in 2 weeks.
Right, see you then.
See ya.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.